April 9th, 2024. Astrologer Val Evans gives a P Diddy prediction for May.
Something pretty shocking on or around May 4th. This is when a shocking video is going to start making the rounds, it seems, early May. Virgo is a worker and has some kind of shocking video that they're handing over to authorities. Members of this channel knew about that video of P. Diddy caught on camera physically abusing his ex even before CNN got the exclusive. Welcome to Astrology and Crime. I'm Astrologer Val Evans. Thanks for watching. Music mogul Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, was arrested on Monday in New York on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges. He pled not guilty, and Diddy's legal team say he's innocent. A woman who claims that Diddy shot her in the face in 1999 said it was the best day ever. The judge locked him up. He'll be woken up at 6 a.m. now with a highly regimented routine. No more late nights. I'm joined now by criminal defense and entertainment lawyer Bruce Kaye, who has represented artists in the hip-hop world, among other clients who are trying to beat criminal raps. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Hey, I'm great. Thank you, Val.
Give me a couple of words describing how you felt after you read this indictment.
Okay, so I printed out the indictment, Val, and I've read through it. And it's funny, the word you use, salacious, is exactly what I was thinking, because this is some juicy stuff. We don't get this stuff's pretty conservative typically, and we don't get these types of federal indictment with this level of detail of naughtiness at all. So it's great stuff. And
Exactly.
I'm happy to be here, and I can answer whatever you want to know.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Now, you're based in Dallas,
And
and you've dealt with not just criminal clients, but also entertainment clients. What are some of the holes that you see maybe that his defense team is looking at right now?
his one real hickey is there's that videotape of him beating up Cassie in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, people are going to conflate that with this case, and his lawyer, who's a sharp guy, his lawyer is sharp. He's not being charged with that offense. He was never criminally charged with that particular offense. So it's carving out that bit that it's really hard. His lawyer has to carve out of the jury's mind something that we've all seen. It's kind of like trying to unring the bell. It's really hard, but the right lawyer can really stick to the facts. The way for him to defend this case is to go claim by claim through the facts and try and just knock them out. Some lawyers like to go for like just a knockout blow. I have found, in doing this for 30 years, it's more like a million little pokes with the sword. And then the jury kind of catches on. After a while, you don't want to tell people what they know. You want to suggest it, and the jury goes, oh, well, if he did that to her in that hallway, from the prosecution side, if he did that to her in the hallway, that's probably what he did over here in all these criminal cases. And as the criminal lawyer, you have to attack it and show, no, that's a separate matter. It has nothing to do with this case. So it's a tough battle.
We're going to be hearing probably from some witnesses. They say that there's maybe 50 witnesses, but we're talking about a dangerous man. And I don't know if all of these witnesses are going to be interested in testifying when the day finally comes. Do you see that happen?
Not a convenient trip to Hawaii, so they're just not available for the court.
Exactly. Yes, like the main witnesses. Do you anticipate that in a case like this?
But before you get to those witnesses, remember, we're basing what we think the witnesses are going to say on this indictment, which is available online for those who want to find it. And I'll remind you, Val, and everybody else, an indictment is a one-sided document. It's not like the prosecutor talks to the grand jury and then the defense counsel talks and they get to hear equal facts and then said, yeah, I think there's enough to go forward. No, all they hear is the prosecutor's side. So all they're going to hear are these facts. So if they can put up what they say they have on this, it's going to be really rough because repetition, it's tough to overcome. but he can do it.
Absolutely, he can do it.
Person, they're going to have to, like I said, a million little stabs to every single person that gets up there to attack their credibility.
They denied him bail. What usually happens?
So when you typically are arrested in a federal case, it's not like state where you go downtown, your family posts bail, you get out. In federal court, it's completely up to the judge as to whether you will be released or held in detention. So you get a detention hearing. Now, what he went to was a magistrate judge. And a magistrate judge is an appointed judge by the district judges. They appoint a magistrate judge, and typically they do things like the first stage of a plea, more administrative hearings. So it makes sense that the magistrate judge is not going to stick his or her neck out on this and make a decision like that. That's up for the sitting district court judge. He or she will make that decision. But what I'd like to go back to, what's neat is, look, his lawyer said that they knew this was coming. He flew to New York for the purpose of turning himself in. According to his lawyer, he offered to tell us where you want him. Sean will turn himself in. They refused. They didn't want that. And that's because it makes it look like he's more of a flight risk because they had to go and get him. So there's some theatrics that are being played. You know, the U.S. attorney, they're not dumb. So there's some theatrics being played here on their part too to make this as big as they can. And if he turns himself in and has already surrendered his passport, it's much easier to say, oh, he's not a flight risk. Whereas now he's got a lot of money and he's a flight risk. And if I can tell you one more thing, the reason that these hearings are hard on a case like this is because he's got 3 counts, but on the second count, which has to do with the sex trafficking, if he loses, the guidelines have a statutory amount of 15 years minimum. So, you know, does somebody have reason to flee the country if they know that on one of their 3 counts, the minimum, and, you know, Masi Menos, the judge can affect it a little bit, but they typically don't do it too much. Somewhere around 15 years is the minimum if they convince the jury that he did do sex trafficking.
We were looking at the stars and we were seeing how there was a huge shock coming for him.
You know tarot so well, right?
Yes.
So what would you say Diddy at this point? If you had to pick a card for him, I'd love to hear where do you see him?
That's such a good question.
Is he a major, player? Where do you see him?
I love it. Now you guys see why I asked Attny Kaye to come on. But I was thinking about this too, actually. And for some reason, and I know this isn't, I'm not an expert at tarot. I have my partners that come on. But for some reason, the partnership card kept coming to me. And the reason for that is I think that we are about to see, like, the veil is being lifted, and all of those people that really loved being around all that wealth, those Hollywood types, I feel like they might be roped in here. Don't you think?
You are so accurate, but it's for a reason that you don't know. That's awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Partnership, in order to prove one of the causes, which is racketeering conspiracy, you have to prove that he's in a partnership with other people. It can't just be him alone. Conspiracy takes 2. We always say conspiracy takes 2 to do. And they are saying that his criminal enterprise are his record company people, his staff, his employees. So he has a whole group of people. So you're right on the money with the partnership, because they can't prove this case without proving that he had other people in partnership with him, and that he controlled them, and that they knew what he was doing, and that they furthered it. They provided the drugs. They got the male sex workers to come in. They used intimidation on these women. Now they're claiming, it's not in here anywhere, but they're claiming arson as part of the tactics of the criminal enterprise, which are all those people. They're claiming like kidnapping and arson and bribery. And that's what I look forward to seeing is, like, as a criminal lawyer, we always want to say, where's the evidence? Like, where's the evidence of all that? I want to see that, because that really dictates how this case goes. Is what do they really have on him? Is it just what the women say versus what his staff is going to say? Is it going to be a he said, she said kind of battle? That's really exciting. And we'll know about that soon.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be an ongoing saga.
The thing.
Shelley said that I'm thinking, Shelley, you mean the witnesses and that they should have protection. What normally happens when, you want to go up against, I mean, in any case, really, but especially when you're going up against the emperor or the king of swords or whoever he is.
I don't
uh,
think it's that terrible that they're going to do like on TV where they have the big gate, with the sheet around you, so you just see the silhouette of the witness.
exactly.
I don't think it'll be that. But you know what's interesting too, Val, is at these parties. Think
Mhm.
about it. It's allegedly Mr. Combs and his crew, the people that work for him, or as the government says, his criminal enterprise, right? But what
Mhm.
about if there were like other guests, other record company people in the industry, other people, other stars, other people that were at these parties? That's
Yes.
what's going to get really neat. Are they going to find them? Will they talk? What have they seen? Like, how far up when you start, you know, when it happens, how far up the line are you going to go besides Sean and his entourage? What about other people in the industry that were at these parties and saw what was going on and just did nothing?
Exactly, and Kamala's team has come out today. I guess there was a photo allegedly of her next to P. Diddy, and they're trying to say, "That wasn't her. She wasn't posing next to him," or something like that. They're doing
Oh,
damage control. Oh my god, and
silly.
that's what it's gonna be like.
I heard, he's known for throwing those parties in the Hamptons, his white parties.
I know.
He's a billionaire, icon. Of course, she's going to have a picture with him. That's not unfair.
Exactly, and I think that, also leads to the point that you gotta give people the benefit of the doubt. Just because they had a picture with him doesn't mean that they're involved in his entire organization, so
But if I can tell you, and shut me off when you need me to be quiet, but if I can tell you, I started this a while ago, and there's been a long history. If you look in the African American community and in the hip hop community, many artists and record labels have always felt that the federal government was really coming after them, coming after hip hop, and really trying to shut them down. And there were all those cases where they were trying to claim that the record company made its money from drug dealing, or the record company made its money from gang activities. I remember XXL magazine. It was a big deal. So in one sense, one could wonder: is this an extension of that? What they claim, of what they feel is persecution by the federal government because of how well they've done in life, and where they are and their power and hip hop.
right.
So that remains to be seen.
And they would have a good point. I mean, I'm sorry to say in some cases, I mean, I guess that's kinda controversial for me to say, but, now yes, Natalie has a question, and if anybody has a question for Attny Kaye, please, go ahead and ask in the chat. But Natalie says, oh, sorry, this isn't a question. Val, you have no idea how excited I am that you have a criminal defense attorney on here. Woohoo! I know, it's exciting.
Yes.
He's brave, isn't he? And I wanted oh, here's the question Natalie had. Will the prosecution be allowed to bring up the civil cases he settled already? Most of those people will be witnesses, possibly.
So typically there's something called extraneous offenses, and extraneous offenses are non-charged allegations. And let's say you're charged with kicking, I shouldn't say, whatever, punching somebody in the face.
Okay.
And they've got 5 other instances of you punching somebody in the face, but they're not connected to this time you punched somebody in the face. The
Okay.
question becomes, can the prosecution bring in those other examples of me punching somebody in the face to kind of bolster this charge? And technically the answer is no. You can't use those other examples to prove that I did it this time. But you can bring them up for other reasons, like to prove a pattern or a motive or a scheme. So yeah, it's coming. I'd be so shocked if it's not coming in, but that's going to set up a definite issue for appeal. That's definitely going to be looked at, is should the videotape in the lobby of that hotel, should that have been let in, or is it just too prejudicial? Because if it's too prejudicial, we have a thing, prejudice over its probative value. The probative value, it has to be relevant. Evidence has to be, here's evidence 101, has to be relevant. It has to be more probative than prejudicial. And in some instances, it's just too prejudicial. Like you see that video, it's going to be hard, I think, like I said earlier, it's going to be hard for a jury not to look at that and go, he did it then. That's what he's alleged to have done to all these other people. Yeah, he did it. it's tough, but yeah, I think it's coming in.
Okay. And I have a question from Valentina. What about the witness protection? Can it work on this case?
I don't do a lot of that, but I believe witness protection is a post-judgment type of deal. You come, you testify, and then I guess they give you a new face and put you somewhere new, but
Exactly.
not before trial.
Okay. How much do you think his defense is going to cost? I need to know.
That is really hard. It's going to be no less than $5 million, I would think. And that may be incredibly low. There is a ton of work to be done here. I know that his lawyer said on TV that they've already started kind of finding who the witnesses are. And I'm sure their investigators and their private investigators have been interviewing people, but it's 3 different counts. And there's different elements of some counts that overlap others. And this is technical stuff. It's some of it's kind of boring. Is it interstate commerce? They brought sex workers across state lines and engaged them. That's also a federal offense. There's a ton of work. He's going to have no sleep until this trial, that lawyer. I feel bad for him.
Okay. Thank you, Jody, for coming in here. It's tragic how he influenced his children. Yeah. King, I believe his son, is dealing with some charges as well. And let's see, what else do I have? Let me ask you, if you were to, I kind of think it's hard to tell right now, but if you were to judge this case on a scale of 1 to 10, being as bad as it gets, being 10, what do you think?
It's hard to give anything a 10 because I mean that's just so it. Like I said, it's juicy to read. On paper, it's a good 8 plus. I mean, okay, why does anyone need 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube? That's just weird. That's odd.
The internet is asking. Everybody wants to know.
Yes. Oh God, so much I could say, but it's I think what's also bad though is in this day and age, women used to be fearful. They were afraid to come forward and say the types of things that they're making in these allegations because the men had all the power and the money, and so the women were afraid they were going to go through this whole process, and in the end, nothing happens. And I think with Me Too and Harvey Weinstein and everybody else, we have as a society elevated our consciousness to really understand that, yes, I'm not saying he did it, but these types of things do go on. And so I think these women are, they're pretty brave coming forward, whoever's going to do this, because they're going to have a ton of scrutiny on everything they ever said in their entire life. It's going to come up. And nobody wants that.
All the photos. I mean, Hollywood is cringing right now. I will say that Hollywood and the hip hop industry,
but someone is already, writers are making notes now because it's going to be a great movie when it's all done.
Oh my God. And, it's a shame, everybody sees this as entertainment, but really there are so many victims here who, I mean, you just can't even believe what you're hearing that people had undergone such trauma and abuse. And one thing I'm seeing is people are going to start writing books and they're going to come out next year.
And I think that's what's important. We're all, it's kind of fun to bring up all the juicy stuff, all the just crazy, horrible allegations that he drugged people, he beat people, he forced people to stay in their apartments until the bruises went away. All these allegations, but in the end, and we can be lighthearted about it, but if it's real, it's horrific. What he's done, if it's real, the pain that the victims have endured, it's unbelievable. I mean, this stuff, I invite everyone, get online, read the indictment or read a review of the indictment. It's only 15 pages, but read a review. It's really, really bad what they're alleging he did. And so I don't want to make light of how bad it is, but we can still have fun talking about the allegations. That doesn't diminish the claims, the people who are victims.
Well, I think there's a bit of glee by some, we've already seen that, of some of the victims, probably because they never thought that they would see justice. So I think it's definitely a natural state. Now, Natalie says, do you think that they'll offer him a deal of some sort, or do you think they'll go full force like an R. Kelly situation?
The thing is when you give someone a deal, it's usually someone lower down on the food chain. So you're a drug runner. You get caught. They'll give you a deal maybe to talk about where you bought the drugs from. And the same thing, because they want to get up to the head. They already got him. I mean, they've got the head of their alleged criminal enterprise, which is Sean Combs. So no, I don't think they're offering him a deal. This is just too big. It's a ride or die situation. He's either going to beat it or he's going to jail, I think, for a long time. Federal prison is not what it used to be. It's not the country club tennis courts. It's prison. It's prison.
I can imagine there's a cycle that as an attorney you go through. Now, when they've got to face the music one way or another, and you almost probably become like a counselor, and not just from the legal side, but emotionally. What do you think his defense is going through right now? They're probably fielding calls from family, friends. That's probably some of what they're charging for, is trying to manage his life. What are some of the things that they're doing, do you think, right now to help?
Before I get to that, once again, showing how good you are, that is so true. Nobody understands that about criminal lawyers. The counseling is a huge part of what we do. A lot of these entertainers, they come from all different types of families and all different types of family structures. And in many cases, I mean, you're a parent figure for them. You are a guiding force in trying to help them get through this, not just from a guilt innocence standpoint, but from a psychic standpoint and healing. And you're dealing with the entire family. Things like this don't affect a single person. It's not an isolated thing. This is going to affect his children. It's going to affect parents, friends. It is so big, and there is so much worry and so much concern that I don't know how some people survive the process, because it is so emotionally difficult to be charged with a federal offense. Because again, it's not state court where we can work our magic and do good things. Federal court, we still work our magic, but it's tough. It's really hard. It's very technical, and they're going to come at him. They're not going to want to lose, so they're going to come at him with every single thing they got. The smartest, the best, you would assume the best people, the best brief writers, because there's going to be so many arguments. But yes, you're right. Counseling them is a huge part of what we do.
I mean, if you think about it, it is an earthquake. It's not just his family dealing with this. And of course, the victims went through much worse. But, this is him and his family. They had to sell both of his homes. Now, they're completely changing all of their lives in so many different ways, maybe even relocating. So it's a scattering, I guess, of people who were accused of these disgusting crimes. And it looks like there's a good chance that they're going to get the victims are going to get some justice. One thing I am seeing ahead of time, and I hope this is wrong, but it does seem as if he could, and I'm looking at the astrological charts, it seems like he could be in trouble in prison. There is harm. Somebody wants to take him down and become famous, no doubt. I mean, you don't need astrology for that, but it does seem as if he's in danger. What would his defense counsel have to do to say, look, he can't be in there? And then what would happen?
It just doesn't happen. I mean, if he's going in, he's going in.
He's going in. Whoa.
Yeah, he's going
razor blades or nothing. He's going in.
He's going in, and that's your department making these predictions and stuff. So we'll see. Exactly. I mean, no one thought Epstein was gonna die in prison.
I know.
That was unheard of.
I mean, if you think these are shocks, you just wait for the next 6 months. We're in for a bunch more, and it's going to have to do, I think, with his life. And hopefully not. We want him to serve his time. Dottie Forgotti says Suge Knight, yes. And by the way, I think right now we are awaiting the decision on whether he will be denied bail, his appeal for bail. How does that go? Like
it's just typically what happens is that the federal judge makes their determination.
Okay.
And you can appeal that, but it's really frowned upon. The federal court judge is really the judge. In federal court, it is their courtroom. They really do control it and make the rules. In state court, in a state court criminal case, it's easy. There's other people to go to. You can do an interlocutory appeal. In federal court, they really frown on that. So unless you have something really good, it is what it is. The ruling is the ruling. I would think, however, that he has no history of fleeing. He's been in trouble before. He always showed up for court. I don't think there was a problem. I would think that they're going to be a very, very high bond will be set, or she'll release him with some type of. In federal court, you don't typically have to put up money. They either release you or they don't. But in his case, there'll definitely be electronic monitoring. He's not just going to walk. If he gets let out, if he's not walking out, like, he'll be under house arrest at least. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah. And with not having a place to live, I guess he hasn't sold those properties yet. I guess he would be able to go someplace. He can always go to his lawyer's house, I guess.
I don't think he's poor.
He's not poor, at least not yet. But you've seen how these things go. I mean, it can change someone's life. Do you think that's going to happen with him? Does he have any money stashed away? Like, are his kids?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll give him credit on this is he's been through this before with the club shooting with J-Lo. So he's been through big stuff like this before.
That's right.
It might not mess him up as much as it would mess up a first timer in this position. So he may mentally have it much more together. And a lot of times people who, I'm not saying he is, but people who actually are guilty of these types of offenses, they're extremely smart. They're extremely manipulative, and they are very much in control. So you're not going to see any crazy outbursts or emotion from them because they're very in control of themselves.
Okay. Natalie says, why do you think they chose New York to charge him instead of Miami or other places he lives? Better prosecutors, more evidence in New York? Who makes that decision?
That's a great question. Southern District, New York, federal court, it's a very well-known place. Miami federal court's also very well-known. I think they have more of a history of drug cases, South American cases, and things like that. And I think Bad Boy Records was probably in New York. I know Mr. Combs, had his headquarters in New York. So it may just be a hometown thing, or they were the ones that took the ball and ran with it. So I don't know. I'm not a former U.S. Attorney General, so I don't know. But that's a great question, and maybe
something we'll look at.
Of justice will answer that.
What's going to happen with his companies, do you think? He's got his alcohol company, his vodka company. He's spread out across all industries. What do you think? Does he have to hire another lawyer for that?
I mean, he's a really good vertical integration businessman. So he has he has a wheel with all the spokes going into it. It's all interrelated. Unfortunately, because of that interrelationships, I don't see how I think the whole thing takes a hit. I just don't think anyone's going to be seen drinking the drinks on camera or print or his.
No, definitely not.
I think he just needs to get by and win. It's really, like I said, it's all or nothing. There's no, he can't lose this and nothing bad happens. It's going to be catastrophic if he loses.
There could be some analysis of how the police treated him, how law enforcement, what their methods were going into the raids. So there might be something that the defense can pick apart there. Do you think?
Yeah, Fourth Amendment protections against searches and seizures are important. They've been whittled away a lot. Don't get me wrong, by the Supreme Court for a while. They've been whittled away, kind of a pendulum. But all they have to do is if the affidavit for the search warrant lays out the specific facts as to what they're looking for, then it's probably going to be okay. For instance, not so much the baby oil and the lube, always the baby oil and the lube, but they found guns, they found narcotics allegedly in some of the houses. They found evidence that they claim substantiates these charges. And so, it kind of starts to look like that could be what they put in the affidavit was right, because, hey, look, here's the fruit of that search. But again, yes, it's highly unusual. And that's when you being psychic knew way before me. I knew that something really, really bad was happening when those stories came out about the feds searching the homes. The feds, it's not like, again, it's so federal court and federal law is so different than state. When they're searching your house, they already know what they're looking for. They know what they're doing. They are 5 steps ahead of you. There's no guesswork. They knew already what was going on because they interview so many witnesses. They do their homework. The government, it's hard to beat. That's why when we win, it's such a big win for defendants because it's hard to do.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of things going in their favor that defense attorneys and their clients just don't. And the resources, unlimited resources, but Mr. Cohen has a lot of resources too. So I think this is going to be it's going to be just a great case. I think it's great.
To watch, especially for people in your industry, because you're always looking for precedents and changes and strategies. I mean, it's really a big chess game.
Yes.
And we have seen already some of the video that came out of a young Justin Bieber, and I think who asked this question?
I know
one of you asked. Yeah. So, do you anticipate this parade of celebrities coming in and testifying just because they were over at Diddy's house one afternoon in 1997, or whenever it was, 2000?
It kind of goes back to your vision of partnerships, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because on the one hand, he supposedly was mentoring those young stars and helping them and doing all this stuff. Now, on the other hand, if he wasn't, if that's terrible. But those partnerships that form, will those people come and testify? That's what we talked about earlier. The government can say A through Z, but until you have each person come testify, it's just allegations. Anyone can make allegations against anyone. It only takes one person. All it takes is one person to say, I saw Bruce Kaye do X. That's it. That's all it takes.
Okay. One more question for you. I want to know, he's going to be in prison, possibly, unless this appeal goes through. I don't know if anybody's heard anything yet, but what's he going to do in prison? As an attorney, as a criminal attorney, what would you tell Diddy when he goes in to prison? Is there anything he can do? Can he write a book? Can he do like OJ did and autograph things and make money from prison? Like, what's he going to do?
First of all, though, he's not appealing anything yet. An appeal is only if he loses the case. So we're nowhere near that.
No, I meant appealing the bail denial. Yeah.
But the problem is, again, unless his team can really point to something that the judge did wrong in determining what the bail should be, they are rarely overturned by the Court of Appeals. It's just rare. I would say he just needs to learn how to deal with the situation, deep breathing, meditation. I mean, it's not going to be a pleasant situation. It doesn't have to be horrific when he's waiting to go to trial. They usually keep everybody safe. But like you said, I mean, anything can happen, and we're going to have to wait and see, but it could be very ugly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you come back and explain these things to us, but we'll see what happens. And congratulations.
I'd be happy to come back and we can talk more.
Well, you had a great week, so congratulations on a win, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So that was so interesting. Thank you again. That's attorney Bruce Kaye. He's based out of Dallas. He's an entertainment attorney and also a criminal defense attorney and a personal injury attorney. So great guy. We really appreciate that. So now, just a couple of thoughts. I do have a little, good little presentation, but it's real quick because I know this is a little weird for people tuning in for just the legal side, but let me just go over to my slides and, I'm going to look at something that I couldn't help with regard to his chart. We were looking, if you're really interested, we were looking at his solar return chart, which is a great way to learn your own prediction. And here we go. And so this is his solar return chart right now. His last 2 months, okay, that's going to, because his birthday's coming up in November. So we've got September and October as the 11th house and the 12th house. And so this is a pretty big period for him. Now, isn't it interesting that the 11th house is in Libra, which means justice and it means courts. And you can see, will he have success or will he not? Well, we've got a big square to part of fortune, which says, doesn't look good, does not look good. And so moving on into the 12th house, this is going to be the month before his birthday, 4 weeks before. And it sure looks like there's somebody who wants revenge, and it could be several shocks to him. So he has to really, if the prosecutors want to take this to trial, he's going to have some kind of protection. I don't know, throw him in solitary confinement, but it looks like there is some kind of vengeful act that is coming in. So I don't know what that is. But this is P Diddy's solar return chart. And if you want to pull your own solar return chart for your own prediction, you go to AstroSeek, and then you pull your solar return chart. The orange little button on the top right there says solar return, and you click the year for your last birthday. So really, P Diddy is in his 2023 solar return year because he hasn't had his birthday yet. So now we're coming over here to the 2025, and my God, isn't it weird? You can see a very auspicious blue triangle there for him. This is something you'd want to see in your solar return chart. So how confusing is that? And then at the top there's Neptune. And what does Neptune represent? Hotels, oil. I mean, can he slip his way through the cracks? I don't know. And there's going to be a ton of memes having to do with him and oil. So definitely looks like, this is going to continue on these themes of hotel and oil. Also, there was a hotel that came out. Remember, Neptune is hotel, oil, water, video. Okay, so we're seeing all of the above here. And then now we've got Saturn and Neptune next to each other. So that Saturn is old. Neptune, this could be like kind of a motel, So we could be seeing more things that have to do with a motel. And I should say motel, but yeah, I don't even want to go into what that could be. Now, his ruling planet is the moon. And what is the moon? It's in the 12th house of jail. He is sitting in jail. But there is a trine to Venus in Scorpio. So there's a lady that's helping him. And I wonder if it's that assistant that he has. Now, he's got somebody who helps him, and he also has a spy in his court. He's the king, and in that court there's somebody there, I think, that's going to backstab him, and we saw that in the last reading. So it's going to be one thing after another. I'm not going to do the full solar return chart reading right now. We're going to do a separate video for that, but right now it looks like he sure is stuck. And there are going to be some things that that might cause him to disappear. When you have that square there with Neptune, this is someone who gets sick or they just vanish. You don't see them anymore. So you wonder, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to see that. All right, so let me go back into the chat here real quick, and then I'll wrap this up. Let's see. Oh my God, you guys are comedians, but it's like it's a strange situation, because you don't want to be gleeful for anything. You wish none of this actually happened, but this is all P Diddy's fault, and now he is going to face the music. So thank you, Angel D and Natalie, for the questions and for all of your questions. And Buckeye Clay fan, yes, don't forget to hit the likes. We're going to have Bruce on again, Attny Kaye. He's so knowledgeable and friendly, and I like him a lot. He had a t-shirt of Lincoln, Abe Lincoln on, you didn't see it, but it was on a skateboard. So pretty cool. All right, guys. Well, next time I see you, we're going to be talking about another case. So I hope to see you then. Talk to you soon.